On Thursday, June 20th, 2024, a first-of-its-kind probe launched at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum in McMinnville, Oregon. This probe represented nearly 20 years of research and development, blood, sweat, tears, and dreams of project designers. Its mission, to lay the groundwork for future explorers to experience the adventure of Mars on Earth.
My name is Charles Letherwood. I'm the project director and senior designer on the Mars Leap, which is a 5,000 square foot traveling science museum designed to go to interactive science centers around the country and inspire children with the dream of space and then give them the tools to help achieve it themselves. This was an opportunity to look at how our competition for scholarships might be conducted. It's a very complex process trying to run astronauts through to develop their own schedule, to work on their own tasks, to find something coherent that brings all that together. And this was an opportunity given to us by the Evergreen Aviation Museum to try this out in front of a audience that knew nothing about the project and see what their response was to it on a cold basis. Well, I've had a lot of these ideas in my head for a long time, but they do very little good in my head. They actually have to get out and engage with the public, and that's what we're looking to do here. This is an opportunity to see how the public reacts to what I've been hoping they're going to react well to. Is it boring to engage in this? Is it exciting? Is it understandable? Will they understand the connection of the tasks to the science behind it? These and many, many, many more questions we're going to try to answer tonight with this new tool. So this will be the first chance people have actually had to get a look at the deep functioning of the at least part of the exhibit. I knew they would pick up on little bits and pieces, and I don't think any of them actually understood anything that was going on. Or everything that was going on. I think a lot of adults felt the same way. But I think they picked up a lot of the basics, and just knowing, even if they know nothing else about any of the subjects or science that was covered, knowing that it's out there to learn about is education in itself. They're going to be curious, and they're going to see when it pops up in a couple of years, oh, I remember that hydroponics. We talked about that when I was 7 or 8. It's going to be there. It's going to make a difference. No matter how much they think they learn, they always learn more than they think.
Now, some of the adults thought the concepts would be too complicated for them. How did you know it would keep their attention?
I think children are ready to talk about whatever you want to talk about with them. They're curious about everything, and I think we run out of answers long before they run out of questions. Very, very positive reaction, very excited reaction. I think they were really gratified to see their kids engaging with real science, with hard science, and encountering these ideas for the first time, but not being scared away, but being drawn in by it. We had a good response on the type of science we were covering. They felt that it was being presented in an exciting way that was engaging to the kids, and that was serving needs that they had or not. We had some homeschoolers that were there with homeschool children who they had been expressed concerns about their own ability to continue science education for their child, and seeing something like this out there, they were excited that it's coming down the pike.
You actually talked to the children with hard science. So why did you focus on hard science when so many museums seem to be getting away from teaching the hard sciences?
Because so many museums are getting away from teaching the hard sciences. These major science centers in most of the major cities are science centers, and we see all too often exhibits that have little or nothing to do with science. This is designed to travel to interactive science museums, which is where my background is and my particular interest. But starting with the Exploratorium in San Francisco, these have been science museums trying to express science concepts. There's a lot of value in just open-ended play that's going to teach a lot about other concepts as well, and we have a lot of that in the Mars Leap. But it's the science that is critical, and when we see exhibits that aren't science-based, that are more entertainment-based, it dilutes the power of a science museum. A science museum can shape a child's mind. When we hear stories about our local OMSI here in Portland, it's, oh, I remember going to that and it opened up new worlds for me. That's what we want to be able to do with the Mars Leap, and that's why it's so heavy on the science, and I won't say light on the adventure, because the adventure is baked into the cake with it. It's all part of the same story of inspiration, education, and tools to achieve. I couldn't have been any more pleased or surprised than I was with the result of the evening. We went in expecting to learn about the structure of a game, essentially, how these potential students would compete for the competition. But we learned so much more about how the younger sets of kids would engage with this, how appealing it would or wouldn't be to them. We tracked the game as long as we could until their interest in the interactives and the tasks themselves overwhelmed any possibility of keeping score or trying to track performance. It ended up going from a measuring tool on competitive organization to a free-for-all of kids having fun and pretending they were on Mars and learning from the experience, which in the end is everything we want from the Mars Leap. So tonight, I couldn't have been more excited to see that we're on the right track, that we are creating the experience that we're trying to create. One of the big features of tonight's experiment was that we laid out the ghost of a habitat unit on the floor, some tape on the floor, and one of the parents said that she was so amazed at how just that little bit would give the child's imagination something to hook onto. She says they would not cross that line because everybody's gonna die. And to get the kids that wound up into the scenario was wonderful. We had a little small area, an airlock, and I told the kids, all right, this baseball cap, this is your spacesuit. You can't leave the spaceship outside of the airlock or else we're all gonna die, so make sure if you're gonna go out, you're suited up and you go through the airlock. And the first two or three kind of walked around it and everything, but after I'd stopped them and said, here, stand here, give me a tss. Why a tss? Well, that's the sound an airlock makes. Air's moving, so give me a tss. Then they got into it and would not go anywhere other than through the airlock, and every one of them, as they would step through it, they would pause, go tss, and then go out onto the surface and do the same back in. We had an entire Martian colony in a space 20 feet long and existing in these kids' heads, and it was absolutely real to every one of them for just a little while. Much bigger than we see tonight is the overall exhibit, which when done would be a 5,000 square foot, completely interactive, completely immersive simulation experience that would be open to the general public. What we were doing here fits in that umbrella. The general public would be able to use the exhibits throughout the run, all the interactives, all the space hardware. They'd be able to walk out on the Martian surface. But I think the biggest picture is what we're hoping to create with the visitors. When I was 4, humans landed on the moon for the first time, and that has, I don't want to say scarred, but shaped me forever. That is inspiration that has carried through my entire life. that's what we want to create for these kids, because if humanity has a future in space, it has to be from inspired, qualified, educated, driven people that will take us there. And the biggest picture is to create that humanity that is ready to go to space and capable of getting there.
When you said that, you got emotional. Why?
Because I can't control my emotions when I'm saying
That's the passion, Charles. So talk about that.
When I was 4 and Apollo was going to the moon, every person on the planet knew their future lay in space. There was no question they would be on Mars one day. They'd be flying around Jupiter. There was no question. But today, when we see Elon and Jeff Bezos and these billionaires going into space, it's no longer our space program. It's their space program. Now, I'm still a geek. I still care about this. I follow it. It's critical technology and critical steps to getting humanity into space. I don't fault it from that direction at all. But it's not bringing humanity with them yet. Nobody sees it as our space program anymore. And that emotion was very strong with me in 1969, and it's still there today. So if we can, for better or worse, I guess, shape a new generation with those desires, that's something I want to be a part of. For now, the next step is making this yet another step closer to reality. Developing this curriculum competition gave us a real good look at what some of the specific exhibits would be. Some of the ways that we're going to get across concepts like task balance between mission value, mission cost, and mission risk. How we're going to get these complex ideas across, not just in the competition where people have a chance to study and work on it for months, but within the casual visitor who's going to be there for 3 hours on a weekend. We want to be able to take what we've learned today and sharpen it. And the next step will be starting to nail down even more of the specific exhibits we want to have, down to which science experiments we want to be able to replicate or turn into interactives. And that's it, a step closer to reality, a step closer to Mars.